Speaking of guns, Ben Carson once said, and he's since backed away from that he thought that we needed really two sets of laws in this country, that gun issues were different in big cities than they were out in the countryside. Well, Bernie Sanders says the same thing. He doesn't want to offend the voters in his home state of Vermont, who they own a lot of firearms. I'm going to tell you about something Carson said in a moment again, and it just every once in a while he says something, you scratch your head and say, what is he talking about? But I wanted to mention our friends at Tint Lady before we wrapped up the program today, just because I think I've told you before that story about me leaving a beautiful blue Blazer, threw it over the passenger seat in the car and left it there for a couple of days. And then when I went to pull it out, it was actually purple in some spots. Not all of it, because of the way the sun came through, it had been blocked in some spots. So I had a diagonal line down the middle of the jacket. It was purple on one side and blue from the other. That was the ultraviolet rays that were actually bleaching my jacket as it sat in that sunshine. Have you noticed, by the way, that happens in your home? It can happen to your floors, it can happen to your drapes, your furniture, and the like, because of the power of those UV rays coming in through many of your windows. You can even see it in your office. So we've been recommending, if you'd like to have an estimate done, have window tinting put in, Tint Lady will come out, do that estimate for nothing. They'll do it for your business, your home, and your automobile. They'll do paint protection as well. You can call and schedule an appointment. The number is 736-8469, or go online, tintladyidaho.com. Locally owned and operated, they've been in the business at that shop for nearly 25 years. 1887 Highland Avenue East in Twin Falls, open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday by appointment only, closed Sundays, and remember, don't squint, get tint. So over the weekend, Ben Carson was on television quite a bit. What happened, though, late last week, he was on Glenn Beck's program, and he said he would not eliminate the Department of Education. Did you hear this? Ben Carson said he would instead keep it, and he would use it to punish universities that had extremist views. Now, maybe he's talking about the politically correct, but if the Democrat had that opportunity to punish extremist views, and the Democrat was president, then the Democrat would silence all dissent on campus. We've already talked about how the White House works really hard through the IRS and a number of its other agencies to intimidate people into silence. Sometimes Carson says things, and the writer who brought this to my attention over the weekend likes Carson and thinks sometimes Carson is just overthinking what he's talking about. But every once in a while you hear something come out of his mouth and you say, I'm not comfortable with that. 9:36, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. And then at the latest spat with Carson and Donald Trump. Trump says that Carson is dull. Trump also apparently didn't know what a Seventh-day Adventist was. There aren't many in New York City where Trump grew up, and Trump wasn't even sure what that was. But Carson apparently was asked about this while he was on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace yesterday.
Behind Ben Carson, we informed Ben, but he was sleeping.
Now, he went after you as even more low energy than Jeb Bush. He said you're very weak on immigration. He even questioned your faith as a Seventh-day Adventist. Dr. Carson, what do you make of that?
Well, it's kind of interesting because the conflict that we had a couple of months ago is he thought I was questioning his faith, and he went ballistic on that. So it seems a little interesting that he would now be doing that. I really refuse to really get into the mud pit. Hillary actually was right when she said, that the Republicans are there, trying to destroy each other. I really think that was a huge mistake in the last cycle, and I'm certainly not going to get into that, no matter what anybody says.
I hear people, they made fun of your religion, or they criticized your religious faith, and then everybody, we need to have an apology. Well, if you go and you deny the prophet to a Muslim, that Muslim might get really angry with you. I think that the Muslim should chill out, frankly. And when it comes to Christians, we all get so offended when someone talks about our faith. Look, the only church I've ever belonged to is the Roman Catholic Church. It's been called the Whore of Babylon. I have Protestant friends who tell me I'm going to hell, and I just let it roll off my shoulders. I don't stand there and say, I demand an apology. I just forget it, move on. You can't say anything about certain religious faiths that are powerful in this area or somebody gets their nose out of joint. Relax. If you've got your faith, who cares what someone else thinks of it? So at least I give Ben Carson credit in that situation. I had a friend growing up whose family, they had been Roman Catholic, became Seventh-day Adventist. Don't know much about it, but I would not have known of it if I hadn't known about them. And Trump says, same situation. He just had no idea that it was a church that existed.
Well, I didn't say anything bad about it. I just don't know about it. You know, I would certainly give an apology if I said something bad about it, but I didn't. All I said was, I don't know about it. I just said, I don't know about it. I said nothing about it. I would never say bad. I'd never say bad about any religion.
So Donald Trump, with his response after this was brought up, he was speaking on, I think, a radio station in Florida over the course of the weekend. Somebody asked him if he could delve into that, talk about that just a little bit. But for crying out loud, you know, let's be honest. Everybody has a religious faith out there. The reason it's faith is because you don't have certainty. If you had certainty, you wouldn't need faith. When it came along to the Jews, they believed that a guy went up to a mountain and God gave him a couple of tablets and the law was printed on them. And, you know, that takes some faith to believe that actually happened, that he went up on the mountain and actually met God, and God said, here you go, take these back, tell these people this is how they have to live. You know, if you're a Christian, it takes a lot of faith to believe that, you know, a guy who claimed he was God, he got nailed to a tree, he died, and then 3 days later he got up, pushed a rock out of the way, and walked out of the tomb. That comes down to faith because, you know, we didn't see it happen. Or that Joseph Smith went up on a hillside, not far from where I grew up, and that he found as well, you know, tablets, these plates that instructed him on what to write. Again, that comes down to faith. That's how you accept it. So, you know, let's just relax a little bit about all of this when somebody supposedly criticizes your faith. It's not hurting your faith at all if you're really strong in it.